Hi friends, this is Monish back here with another video of the Hindu Daily Editorial series. So, in today's class, we are going to discuss the some important vocabulary, one-word substitutions, and idioms and phrases of the Hindu newspaper of 23rd September 2025. So, without any delay in time, let us get into the class. First part is vocabulary. Futile. The first word we have is futile. Futile is an adjective and futile means నిరుపయోగమైనది నిరుపయోగమైనది which is not useful, pointless, useless, or producing no result. Pointless, useless, and producing no result is called as futile. His work was futile in the sense his work was pointless or was not useful. Synonyms are vain, ineffective. Vain and ineffective. All his hard work does not go vain. It means all his hard work does not go into air, does not becomes wasted. And antonyms are effective, fruitful, and useful. Effective, fruitful, and useful are the opposite of the word futile. Example sentence: all his efforts to convince her were futile, as she had already made her decision. All his efforts to convince her were pointless, as she had already made her decision fixed. Next, exempting. Next word is exempting, and exempting is a verb. Exempting means మినహాయించడం. మినహాయించడం. Freeing from a rule, obligation, or requirement. Freeing from a rule, obligation, or requirement is called as exempting. Synonyms are excluding, freeing, releasing. Excluding, freeing, and releasing are the synonyms for exempting, which means not taken into consideration or free from a rule. Opposite, we have obligating, enforcing, binding. Obligating, enforcing, and binding are the antonyms of exempting. Example: the government is exempting essential medicines from the new tax to make them affordable. So, the government is exempting the essential medicines from the new tax so that to make them affordable and budget friendly. Then, next word we have is behoves. Behoves. It is a verb and behoves mean kartavyam, responsibility. Behoves is a verb and it means kartavyam, responsibility. It is a duty, responsibility, or appropriate action for someone. Duty, responsibility, or an appropriate action for someone is called as behoves. Synonyms are befit, suit, become. Befit, suit, become are the synonyms for behoves. Whereas the antonyms are misfits, inappropriate. Misfits and inappropriate are the opposite for this behoves. It behoves every citizen to vote in a democracy. It is a responsibility or a duty or an appropriate action for every citizen to vote in the democracy. So, being citizens, we all have the right to vote, and it is a duty to choose the most worthy candidate. Next word we have is coercion. Coercion. It is a noun, and coercion means balavantam. Coercion means balavantam. The act of forcing someone to do something by using threats or pressure. The act of forcing someone to do something by using threats or pressure is called as coercion. Synonyms are intimidation, pressure. Intimidation and pressure are the synonyms for coercion, whereas the antonyms are persuasion, consent. Persuasion and consent are the opposite for coercion. Example: the witness claimed that his statement was given under coercion but not willingly. So the witness, the one who is there at the procedure of quoting, claimed that the statement was given under force or made by using threats or pressure and not by consent or willing. Next, we have resentment. Next word is resentment, and it is a noun. Resentment is a noun and it means asahanam. Resent means asahanam. A feeling of anger, bitterness because of unfair treatment. A feeling of frustration, especially frustration because of unfair treatment, is called as resentment. Synonyms: displeasure, indignation. Displeasure and indignation are the synonyms for resentment, whereas the opposite or antonyms are contentment, satisfaction. Contentment and satisfaction. Example: she felt deep resentment when her hard work was ignored by the manager. She felt deeply frustrated when her hard work was ignored by her manager. And the next word we have is indignation. Indignation. Indignation is a noun and indignation means agraham. Indignation means agraham. Anger or annoyance at something unfair or unjust. Anger or annoyance at something unfair or unjust is called as indignation. So indignation and the previous word resentment are is kind of synonyms. As you can see in synonyms we have indignation. And synonyms of indignation: outrage and resentment, whereas the opposite are calmness, contentment. Calmness and contentment. Example: she expressed her indignation at being unfairly blamed for her mistakes. She expressed her anger or annoyance at being unfairly blamed, not fairly blamed for the mistakes which were not done by her. Then next word we have is disparity. Disparity is a noun and disparity means asamanata. Disparity means asamanata. A great difference or inequality. A great difference or inequality is called as disparity. Synonyms: imbalance and discrepancy. Imbalance and discrepancy are the synonyms for disparity. Par in the sense equality. Parity or par in the sense equality. And this gives us a negative sense. Disparity generally means a not not equal. This is negative, parity means equal, not equal is inequality. Antonyms are equality and similarity or parity. Then example: there is a huge disparity in access to healthcare between rural and urban areas. There is a huge disparity. There is a huge difference in accessing to the healthcare between the rural and urban areas. Then next word on the screen: consternation. Consternation. Consternation is a noun and consternation means आश्चर्य भयम. आश्चर्य भयम. A feeling of anxiety, shock or dismay typically at something unexpected. A feeling of anxiety, shock or dismay typically at something unexpected is called as consternation. and consternation. Synonyms are dismay, shock, or bewilderment. Bewilderment. Whereas the antonyms composure, confidence, or brave. Composure, confidence, or brave are the antonyms or opposite of the word consternation. Example: the sudden announcement of the exam left the students in consternation. So, if you are in a college or school and suddenly the college announces a special surprise weekend exam, then everyone would be in a shock. So, in that sense, we can use the word consternation. The sudden announcement of the exam left the students in consternation. Next, we have reiteration. Reiteration. Reiteration is a noun and it means punaravrutam. Punaravrutam. The act of repeating something for emphasis or clarity. The act of repeating something for emphasis or clarity is called as reiteration. Iteration in the sense loop, something which goes again and again. Re in the sense again, reiteration. So the act of repeating something for clarity or more emphasis. Synonyms are restatement, recap. Restatement and recap are the synonyms for reiteration. Whereas moving on to the antonyms, silence, suppression. Silence and suppression are the opposite words for reiteration. Whereas moving on to the example sentence, the teacher's constant reiteration of key points helps students to remember the formulas easily. So the teacher's constant reiteration. So the teacher was acting and repeating something for more clarity of the key points that help students remember the formulas easily. Next part, next word we have nativist. Next word on the screen we have is nativist and it is an adjective. It means Swadeshabhimani. Swadeshabhimani is called as nativist. A person who favors the interests of native inhabitants against those of immigrants. A person who favors the interests of native inhabitants against those of immigrants are called as nativists. As you can see, the criteria or crisis in UK, where many people are coming across the streets and telling the immigrants to leave their country back. Those people are called as nativist. Synonyms are chauvinist, localist. Chauvinist and localist are the synonyms for nativist. And moving on to the antonyms, globalist, internationalist. Globalist and internationalist. Example: the nativist groups protested against the government's plan to welcome more immigrants. The nativist groups has protested against the government's plan to welcome more immigrants. It is obvious that we can see in nowadays many of the people do not want immigrants to enter their country. So we have successfully completed the first part, which is one word substitutions. The first word we have is protectionism. The first word is protectionism. It means economic policy of restricting imports or jobs to protect domestic industries. Economic policy of restricting jobs to protect domestic industries is called as protectionism. And next word we have is prowess. Next word on the screen is prowess, and prowess means exceptional skill or ability. Exceptional skill or ability is called as prowess. If you have an exceptional skill in some kind of arts or anything, then you can say I am prowess at art. It means you have an exceptional skill in that particular field. Next word, frontier. Next word is frontier, and frontier means unexplored or underdeveloped boundary area. Unexplored or undeveloped boundary area is called as frontier. And the final word we have deliberations. The final word is deliberations, and deliberation means formal discussions. Deliberations mean formal discussions. Now moving on to the next part, idioms and phrases. At any cost. At any cost. This phrase we have listened across our day-to-day conversations. At any cost means regardless of difficulties or consequences. At any cost, I'll catch the bus. It means regardless of the difficulties or consequences, I will catch the bus. Next, banking on precedents. Banking on precedents. It means relying on past legal or judicial decisions. Relying on past legal or judicial decisions is called as banking on the precedents. Next, set a precedent. Set a precedent. Set a precedent means establish an example for future actions. Establish an example for future actions is called as setting a precedent. Rely on hiring. Rely on hiring. It means demand on employing. Demand on employing is called as rely on hiring. And the next idiom, harder to justify. Harder to justify. It means something which is difficult to explain or prove as reasonable. Something difficult to explain or prove as reasonable is called as harder to justify. Let us see the quiz. The word futile means. The word futile means. As discussed in today's vocabulary, futile means something which is useless or pointless. And the word futile, and they are asking for synonyms. So the word futile means pointless. Next, indignation refers to. Indignation refers to. So indignation means getting annoyed or anger or frustration due to unfair treatment. So anger at unfair treatment is called as indignation. Next, exceptional skill or ability is known as. Exceptional skill or ability is known as prowess, as discussed in the one word substitutions of today. Then banking on precedents. Banking on precedents mean relying on the past judicial decisions. Relying on the past judicial decisions is called as banking on precedents, or make a precedent. Make a precedent means setting up an example. Setting an example for future causes is called as make a precedent. So that's it for today's class. If you did like the class, then make sure to subscribe the channel and also like the video. And if you want to get this PDF alongside with the quizzes, then make sure to join the Telegram channel English with Technical Monish, or just scan this QR code. So I'll be back with the new vocabulary words, one word substitutions and idioms, and new quizzes tomorrow at daily 7 a.m. So if you don't want to miss out any of the videos, then make sure to subscribe the channel and click the bell icon so that you won't miss any of the updates from English with Technical Monish. So see you guys in tomorrow's video. Until then, keep studying and practicing. Goodbye.